One Big Team episode here is all about the Q&A. All right. So we put something out on Instagram and it was just, what questions do you want me to answer in regards to the podcast, myself, your experiences. We got a list of things. My guy, Matt here at the Creative Scene is going to be the DJ asking the questions. And I hope that this format is enjoyable and educational and inspiring and does all the things that the One Big Team podcast is meant to do. So let's get it rocking. Matt, how are you, brother?
Good. I'm excited. Yeah, we got some good questions here. The first one to kick us off is what inspired you to start the One Big Team podcast, and tell us a little background about that.
I love it. So, gosh, it must have been 2020 or 2021. Spring of 2021. Good friends of mine, Troy Taggart, Cole Taggart, AJ Powell, they were starting a podcast studio in Leesburg called T-Pow Studios. And I saw on Instagram that they were doing that. And all I needed was a video for my website at the time. So I reached out to them. I said, hey, can you guys help me with this? Absolutely. I went in, and over the course of making the video, they started pitching me on the idea of doing a podcast, partially because it was a service that they were trying to sell. And they believed in me and that I could do it. And I sat and I reflected and I said, okay, I've been listening to podcasts nonstop for 7 years. I love them. I've benefited immensely from them. And I recently, around that time, was interviewed on my first podcast, which I thoroughly enjoyed. So it fell into alignment of my life's purpose, what I want to do, have a massive positive impact and help people. So I decided it fits. Let's go for it. It'll be good for my brand, for the business. And we attacked it. And then when I was thinking about names and what I want to talk about, the larger theme with the podcast is personal development and spreading good energy. So for my spiritual framework, it has been this concept of oneness and that everything is interconnected. Nothing stands alone, right? So every person on this planet is a brother and sister. We're all family. And through the present moment, everything is connected. My experience as a professional has been in sports and coaching and the team concept, right? When you are one big team, one family, you're much more effective. The experience is much better. So this concept of one big team, it kind of pulled on this spiritual framework of what I believe, and also pulled on this kind of sports team aspect. And for what the academy does and what I was doing at the time is to try to have a really big impact in the youth sports space, right? So trying to get everyone to be on the same team, to prioritize wellness, mental skills, character development, community, all of those things. And I love, I'll share also, because I think this is an important part of the story. When I first did it, confidence through the roof. I said, yeah, great. Put me in front of the camera. I'll crush this. And the first time they put me in front of the camera, and it was just two people in the room and the camera, and they pressed record, and the little red light popped on the camera, I froze up. I got shaky. I couldn't communicate clearly. And I just said, whoa, we got to stop. I need a second. Calm myself down. I actually asked them to leave the room. And in that moment, thankfully, because I'd studied these strategies, these skills, I realized that what I was experiencing was a limiting belief coming to the surface, because I was aware of my inner dialogue, and I heard this inner dialogue say things like, you can't do this. Nobody wants to listen to you. What do you think? Like, there's just no way this is going to work. Full of doubt, anxiety, things like that. And because I knew that all that was some internal chatter, and I knew my potential as a human being, I could do it. So I had to replace that limiting belief with an empowering one, which was, if I practice, I will get better. If I do my best, I'll be at peace with myself. If it helps one person, I will be proud. And when I did that, it was a huge shift. So I look back on starting that podcast as massively influential in my growth. And then bringing it back, Matt, with you, was I was moving back from San Diego, kind of looking for the things that are going to continue to keep me inspired, the projects, where I put my time, how can I grow? And I saw the ad for the Creative Scene on Instagram. And then when I looked up the address and I was like, oh, this is 4 minutes away from where I live. This is meant to be. And we connected right away. And your energy was so sound. It was a no-brainer to bring this back. So again, It's so enjoyable for me. I just was looking at my phone. I had a text message from a former student. He's in college. He's a senior now, about to go into the, life after college. And he listened to the recent episode of Train of Thoughts. And he was like, this was awesome. This really helped me. Mindfulness has been big for me, et cetera, et cetera. So it's worth it. It's so enjoyable. I'm so thankful.
That's amazing. So you work with a lot of students, like you mentioned. And so from the perspective of a coach or a leader, what would be one of the most important qualities of an effective coach or leader is a question.
Great. I think a theme of connection and knowing your people really, really well, not just from a performance standpoint, what makes them tick, but going beyond that and building really deep and long lasting trust through consistency. But I think the skill set that is something you really need to work at, it might be natural for some, is you need to communicate the vision. You need to frame up experiences in a way that keeps people growing. So when you are coaching someone and they experience failure or setbacks, if you help them frame up the experience as lessons learned, this was a teacher, this is how you've grown, this is what you did well, this is how it will serve you going forward. Very, very effective there. When you are in front of the team, your sports team, your business team, your family, and you are speaking about the future through a lens of optimism and confidence, you are doing people a great service, and it's incredibly impactful. So when I think about the greatest leaders that I've been around, that's where their skill set was. It was in connection, and it was in framing up the negative experiences or the difficult experiences, the challenges, as now opportunities to grow. And they were experts in framing up the future. This is where we're going. This is how we're going to get there. This is how you're going to play a role in that. This is why it's going to benefit you. And by the end of that, you just live in a much more clear, coherent, joyful, confident state that is the best. So I think effective leaders connect well. They frame up challenges and they frame the future and the vision very clearly.
That's so good. And I could see how that would help like an individual like progress. Another question I think that kind of broadens what you just shared would be, how do you handle conflicts within a team, and what advice do you have for resolving them?
I would say first is getting clear on team dynamics. What has led to the issue? Was there a lack of clear standards? Was there a toxic environment that's been present for a long time in the way people communicate to each other, in the way that people handle or don't handle failure, handle their responsibilities? And getting clear on that first, like what's the systemic issue at play? And then helping people get back into a state of clarity of what it is that they're trying to achieve. And then what are the benefits of coming to a place of resolution, navigating this challenge of friction. So I guess first would be getting the lay of the land, understanding how this issue came into existence, because it's hard for me to imagine a issue amongst a team that comes up that doesn't have to do with a long-standing lack of clarity. So if the team doesn't have clear standards and goals and procedures, you're giving more room for those potential interferences. So first trying to identify those, helping that coach, that organization clean those up so that this issue doesn't come about again. We look at it through a lens of growth. Great, hey, this happened so that we are better in a month from now. Then bringing those individuals to the table, probably separately at first, understanding them, their perspective, what's holding them back from moving forward, what's the issue between the other person or the environment, connecting with them, listening to them, being empathetic and compassionate, and then beginning to, okay, well, here's what we've learned from this. Here's what the best path forward is based on what you said. And here are all the benefits that are going to come. Not just is the environment going to get better, not just are you going to perform better, but if you can navigate this with intention and clarity, you are going to be a much more valuable asset to yourself for the rest of your life in your ability to navigate difficult situations. And I'm somebody who avoided conflict for a very long time. And I still have that tendency. I don't like conflict. I just try to avoid it at all costs. But I realized how it didn't serve me in teams that I was a part of, relationships that I was in. And now I'm much more willing to in a positive, growth oriented, purposeful way, engage in conflict resolution.
Yeah, that's really good. And I could see how having someone there to help facilitate that is a huge asset.
Mm,
And so kind of in that vein, you give a lot of great advice to students, people who, are looking to grow. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received and how has it influenced your life?
mm. Yeah, best piece of advice I ever received. I was in third grade, and I got picked up from school. My mom picked me up, and at the time, my brother started having some behavioral issues, and he was getting in a lot of trouble as a sixth grader at school. And it was almost every day when I got picked up from elementary school, we would have to go pick him up early from school. And my mom picked me up. I think she got off the phone with the principal or the dean. Shout out Mrs. Pollock. She's incredible. And I could tell that she was upset, stressed about it, concerned. And I remember asking, like, what's going on with my brother? Like, what's this scenario? Why is this happening? And she said, you never know what people are going through. Be kind to everyone. And it really resonated with me. And I really do remember going back to school the next couple days with this perspective at the forefront of my mind, and looking around the room in the classroom and going, wow, everybody has got so many things going on that I'm unaware of. It does benefit them and myself to treat them with immense kindness and compassion, even if they do me wrong and are negative towards me, whatever that situation might be. And I see how over my lifetime, practicing intentional kindness, compassion, and empathy has served me incredibly well. It's led to better relationships. It's led to a enhanced skill set as a leader, as a communicator. And yeah, I look back on clarity as that was really number one for me, as one of the first lessons that I ever remember receiving. And couldn't recommend that enough, that the reality is everybody is dealing with something, and to practice kindness will go such a long way. And then the other one would be Coach Eddie Mason. And I was working his football camp, and he was trying to gather a group of, probably second to fifth graders and get their attention at the end of camp. I was an eighth grader and actually got in some trouble and needed community service hours, and he was willing to give me a coaching opportunity so that he could mentor me. And, it was the first time I ever coached. And, looking where I'm at now, I'm so grateful for that. So he gave me a chance. But he said something to the kids in the huddle. He said, he clapped his hands and yelled and got their attention. And he said, hey, everybody go eyes on eyes. Look in my eyes. Where your eyes go, your attention goes. Where your attention goes, your energy goes. Where your energy goes, your everything goes. It is the most important thing to look people in the eyes and to have the discipline and the respect for yourself and for others. So from that moment on, I really practiced this eyes on eyes concept with teachers, with coaches. And one of the ways that it showed up for me, I was not an exceptional football player, but our team was exceptional. We won 2 state championships back to back. Shout out all my Broad Run Spartans. And in that moment, I'm sure the coaches didn't realize the impact it was having on me, because I wasn't a great player and I really wasn't trying my best to be a great player. I probably was complacent, realizing I'm never going to get on the field and I'm just here to have a good time. But I practiced eyes on eyes when they spoke, and I absorbed so many great lessons. And Coach Burnett, Coach Dawson, these guys taught me an immense amount about how to be an effective teammate, leader, and now coach. So those two stand out above all the rest. You never know what people are going through. Be kind to everyone and go eyes on eyes in any room that you're in, and you'll learn more and you will accelerate your development as a person and as a leader.
That's amazing. It sounds like you've had a lot of like mentor figures that kind of help you at key points in your journey. Now I could imagine you being in this field for so long, like you've seen it evolve and develop. And so the question here is, how do you envision the future of sports psychology and mental skills training evolving?
Oh, I love that. What a great question. I see it becoming, and this is what we are striving to do, a normal part of everyday life. People have much more awareness of their own psychological skills, their mental skills that are at play in every scenario. They actively train them as a part of their routines, and it doesn't even feel like they're doing anything extra. It's just the way. Like we're training our self-talk every day. We are training our focus every day. We are training our relaxation response every day, our mindfulness. And when you understand it, you define it, you give texture to it, you give strategy to it, you can enhance these things very quickly. And the benefit is, the word I wanted to use was catastrophic, but I don't know if that fits. The benefit is life changing. It really is. I look back on my life and where it's been changed. And yes, the mentors helped a ton, the books helped a ton, but applying the strategies is what really did the trick. So I foresee it being a part of every culture and every sports team across the country and across the world. And I see us as a species evolving and benefiting immensely from these practices. And I think when you play sports your whole life, you're in a position to be a leader. You develop a lot of those skills. Not to say that you have to be an athlete to develop them, but I believe you can accelerate it. The athletes that accelerate their leadership skills and develop their mindset and mental skills are primed to have an influence and an impact. And I look around the state of the world, and again, I'm super optimistic, but I realize here in Northern Virginia, this is a bubble. Things are really easy and nice here. The vast majority of the world has a lot of unnecessary suffering. And I believe that if we get organized and clear and goal-oriented, we can alleviate a lot of unnecessary human suffering and live in a much, much better world.
And that's so good. One of the things I love you said was just like normal everyday life, like integrating it into it, and that contributing to the evolution of humanity. I think that's really powerful. And so speaking of, everyday life, here's a fun one. When you're not coaching or working on the podcast, what are some of your favorite hobbies or activities?
So, gosh, I'm so thankful that what I do is what I love. So the vast majority of my time is spent on the academy. But the things that bring me a lot of joy is consuming great content. I have a slew of podcasts that I listen to regularly. The Ed Milet Show, The School of Greatness with Lewis Howes, Finding Mastery, Michael Gervais, Jay Shetty's podcast, and a bunch of others that, find their way into my awareness. I really enjoy listening to those. It's interesting. 3 years ago, I got diagnosed with heart disease and told me no more exercise. And I didn't begin the practice of walking every day until this last year. And it's become one of my favorite things. I love practicing mindfulness. I love practicing yoga nidra. I really, really enjoy reading books that are helping enhance my health and my mindset. I do enjoy the game of golf. Mostly probably because of the mental aspect and the camaraderie. You get to spend time 3 to 4 hours with people and have a lot of good conversations. I love live music, and in ways I can see how all of them help me. And I was talking to a player the other day about being in a flow state, and we talked about music because he went to a concert. When you watch a musician and they're absolutely shredding the guitar or the piano or a drum solo, they are fully immersed in the present moment and they're in a flow state. And what I find is that when I'm front row at a concert and I'm watching that, I can almost tap into that energy, and it really inspires me to then get into those states more frequently. Anything in nature is always good for those things as well. And yeah, so those are really, at this point in my life, my favorite activities. I cut out drinking about a year ago, so I don't find myself going out just to, sit at bars anymore. That was definitely an interference for me. And yeah, those are my favorite hobbies.
That's awesome. So I got 2 more for you.
Love it.
To bring us over the finish line. The first one is, are there any new projects or initiatives you're excited about that you could share with us?
I love it. Yeah, I would say when this comes out, we would have announced our newest hire at the Academy, Andrew Stemmel, who's just an incredible man and going to have such a positive impact on the youth sports space. And he was formerly, most recently, the head coach at Marquette University, and just has an unbelievable career and expertise. So very excited about him. He's going to be working with students across the country, and then also where he lives in Pittsburgh. So couldn't be more fired up to get to learn from him and have him on the team. We are expanding our Confidence Now program, filming new content, putting it out in unique ways so that we can capture more attention and have a bigger impact. I hope that in the next couple months, I'll be doing more speaking engagements, myself, my staff, across the country, working with schools and organizations so that we can help them integrate the language of mental skills, which is what we teach. And then the book, What's the BPO? That will be coming out sometime this fall, and could not be more grateful for my co-writer who's helping me bring that to life. And the book, the best possible outcome. What's the best possible outcome has been a question, has been a strategy that I've been using daily since I came up with it. And I've seen it help so many people. It expands upon optimism, but then there are a plethora of mental skills that become enhanced by having this conversation with yourself and others. So very excited for the book there and the people that will read it. Those are the projects that we're really focused on now. Gosh, so grateful for all of them.
That's awesome. And so on that note, tell us about your future goals for the One Big Team podcast.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean, the podcast for me, it inspires me. Getting to learn from exceptional people is such a gift. One of my goals I mentioned on an episode is that in a year from now, I guess about 11 months from now when I first wrote this goal down, is I want my network to be amongst the most positive and influential people in the world. I want to have these people like I had Alan Stein Jr. on the podcast. And to me, he is a powerhouse of positivity and influence. So I want in my phone and the people that I'm texting and hopping on calls with to be in that group. I want to be in the room with these people of power and influence in a really positive way. So one of the goals is that to interview exceptional guests so that I can grow my personal network and learn from these people. It's a tool of personal and self-development. Beyond that, it is to be a part of people's routines and to inspire them, to educate them, to help them be the most confident, focused, optimistic versions of themselves so that we can live in a better world as one big team. And, developing my skill set as well. I see in the next year I can visualize it, just an incredible lineup of guests. I can see a lot of people regularly enjoying and sharing the content. And I see myself growing, in a year from now, I'm going to be a different beast. And my communication skills, my preparation for each podcast, the execution, the marketing, all of those things will continue to get enhanced. So the vision for the One Big Team podcast, it's big, it's grand, it's definitely BPO. It is reaching millions of people, whether that's in a year from now or 10 years from now, but it's an exercise that I don't see myself putting down.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's so good.
I appreciate you, brother. This was a lot of fun. We'll have to do it again.
Absolutely.
You're the man. All right, everyone. Appreciate you guys. If you could share it with one person, it'd be great. If you share it with 100 people, would be better. So grateful. And let me know what you liked. And if you have other questions that we didn't answer, just shoot them our way. We'll take care of them. See you all soon.